Hokey religion is an ancient word.
Guess what? Hey, yeah. We can talk about this now. I mean, I can hear myself talking. Yeah. Did you put pants on this time? Yeah. You didn't put your pants on.
Hokey religion is an ancient weapon. No magic for good black.
Okay, stop. Okay, go.
Welcome to Hokey Religion, the Star Wars podcast. This is Tyler.
This is Michael.
And welcome back.
Hey.
So, we are recording this episode directly after recording the last episode that came out because...
So, picture this. Remember where you were a week ago. 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago because
2 weeks
we're
ago.
Not that frequent.
Remember where you were 2 weeks ago. Remember the sights, the sounds, the smells. Well, guess what?
Tastes.
Well, for some of us.
Sure. So
well, for us, it's all the same. We've time traveled 2 weeks in advance to bring you.
Literally, like 15 minutes later, this episode, I am going to be out of the country for a week and a half.
Well,
up
no, let's
until
get
like
this,
2 days before this episode comes out.
let's
So
get
we're
this right.
recording
You
it
were
in
out of
advance.
the country.
As you are listening to this, I was out of the country and got back 2 days ago and am probably super jet lagged.
Although you could just say that you still are out of the country, just in case.
Just in case I get stuck,
I don't know.
lost.
Yeah.
Do I get taken like Liam Neeson's?
Well, there was that TV show,
Which one?
Lost.
Oh, not taken. I was like, there's a taken TV show? I'm missing out.
What would that be?
The same thing every
episode from
season, just like
episode.
just like every movie, the same thing every movie.
So they wouldn't change up the premise. It would always be.
It would still be Liam Neeson, his daughter, and his wife. Someone would get taken.
So is this every episode someone is getting taken?
I feel
or is
like they
this-
should probably keep it to every season because episodically that just wouldn't.
Is this
hold
like
up.
Quantum Leap where it wraps up every episode
They just
and then
go
the
on
next
vacation
episode?
to every known country until they run out of countries. Like, so maybe they can get like 2-3 seasons out of
Oh,
it.
maybe finally this country. No one will get taken. Oh God!
All right,
damn
honey,
it!
we're going to Botswana. Oh shit, we're taken again.
It's like Quantum Leap, where every episode ends with him going, "Oh, was it ending? Yeah, it would end, and he would quantum leap into somebody else."
Yeah, and be like, oh,
Yeah.
not again.
That's how this would work.
Yeah. So we're recording this directly after we recorded the previous episode that came out because I'll be out of the country, visiting Switzerland and France and Italy, and having awesome times. And I figured I didn't want to record an episode the day after I got back, when one needed to come out.
We thought about
really
Skyping it, doing a Skyper deal.
And I figured my wife would not be so happy with that on vacation.
You're married?
I think we just mentioned that last episode
Yeah.
and many episodes before.
I can't remember. It was 2 weeks ago.
Oh, yes.
Anyway.
Going on vacation with my wife, and it'll be great. I'm sure it was great. If you're hearing this, I'm dead.
Oh,
Wait, I mean, sorry. Wrong recording. That's the other one I need to make after this.
hello, son. If you're hearing this, I'm dead.
That'd be the worst thing if I left a podcast for my 2-year-old son to announce my death, but then just had a bunch of our random, musings after the fact. It's like, wait, what? That would,
Daddy.
Daddy, no,
Oh, Papa.
Papa.
What have you done, Papa?
Why have you made this, Papa? Everything is so bad.
18 years later.
And he's still talking like that.
Papa. No. Oh, no, Papa.
My death
How
scarred
could you?
him with becoming a tiny British child from the 1880s. I don't know when that was. The
1880s.
Papas. When were the Papas?
Hmm?
The Papa years.
Papa. That's like Little House on the Prairie times. So, yeah, like 1890.
No, I was close.
Yeah.
I was really close.
Yeah.
I never watched Little House
Papa
on the
didn't come
Prairie.
in style until around 1890.
It wasn't in vogue until 1880.
10 years later.
All right, good to know. Thankfully, we still have Star Wars things to possibly discuss, at least 2.
Yeah, and remember all that stuff that happened in the last 2 weeks? We're not going to talk about any
Nope,
of that.
because this is
we
not
have our own agenda today.
yes, we'll catch up next time. So
So-
this is happening far after the fact. Probably should have mentioned it last episode, but by now Force Friday would have already happened. Hopefully you got everything you wanted. But some super cool stuff is coming out, and I figured I would go ahead and talk about it since it would have already happened. And in Switzerland, there's no Force Friday. I won't get to partake in this at all. So, Michael, I'm entrusting you to buy me everything, please.
And remember all that stuff that was announced in the meantime leading up to Force Friday? We're not going to talk about any of that. We're going to talk about all the old stuff.
I mean, there's really no need for there to be any more announcements because like a crap ton of stores are already selling stuff.
Yeah, which was
Targets,
weird.
Kmart's, Costco's, Walmart's, like there's posts all over the internet of stores already putting stuff on the shelves and already selling it.
Rogue One stuff, yeah.
Yeah, Rogue One stuff. So like all the Black Series like K2SO and the gins, the Kmart exclusive gins
Yeah.
and the like Iadu, whatever, like the rain jacket outfit.
Iadu, the Watcher? Who watches everything but is forbidden to interfere?
Yes. Him.
I don't see what that has to do with Star Wars. but-
I don't know. Just Kmart. Who goes to Kmart? No one cares. Yeah, all like lots of stuff has
Does
already
Kmart
been
exist anymore?
in
Does it
2
still
states
exist?
in the Midwest, I'm sure.
Does it?
When I was in Indiana one time for work, there was a Kmart. I saw one.
Why?
There were cars parked in front of it, so I assume it was open. In Florida, there are no more Kmarts that I'm aware of.
There used to be one, but
Yeah. So I mean, there's definitely some cool stuff coming out.
anyway.
Obviously, I love the Black Series figures. They the new one's coming out. I definitely want a K2SO because he looks super cool. I think there's a Cassian. Well, there's
I'm
a
gonna
question
I'm
about
gonna
the
call this
Cassian.
now, although it's already been Force Friday and all of this stuff happened.
All right.
But Jin is
travel.
going to be the new Finn Black Series. It's going to be everywhere,
every
and,
peg, every shelf. Yeah, no doubt.
and no one's
doubt.
going to want it.
Oh, certainly. So there was an interesting thing I saw that happened. So Target had like a Force Friday banner on their website,
Yeah.
and it had the K2SO Black Series figure. It had the Jin Black Series figure, the standard one, not the special Kmart one.
Mm-hmm.
And also had a Cassian Andor figure, like down on one knee, like aiming a gun. And then one day, he was no longer in the banner.
Who was this? Cassian?
Yeah.
Weird.
So I assume he's not coming out on Black Friday, on Force Friday anymore.
Weird.
I don't know.
Wonder why.
I mean, obviously this has already happened, and more announcements will come soon. But there's quite a bit of stuff has been announced and shown already. Black Series figures look really cool. There's some pretty sweet Lego sets. Like the U-wing. Obviously the Funko Pop Finals.
Is that Tusken Raider Black Series coming out Force Friday?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I think this is
I mean,
mainly
have
the
you seen
focus.
that Tusken Raider Black Series on the shelves lately?
The one on the shelf? Please be on the shelf.
There it is. It's
Oh, it's
so
beautiful.
sandy.
My eyes, they burn.
That's a different problem.
Okay. Maybe I shouldn't stare into this. Like,
My eyes, they're burning.
stop pushing.
Unrelated.
Also, to make 2 episodes, we've had a couple beers and some rum to help us get through filling in another hour of content. So enjoy this booze-fueled episode of Hokey Religion.
Thanks to that rum, I remembered it was Uatu, not Iatu. Iatu is the parrot from Aladdin or something like that. What was his
Iago?
name? Iago. Whatever.
Jeez.
I don't care.
And it's Uatu the Watcher, right?
Uatu the Watcher. Yeah.
However
I
you
said
wanna pronounce it.
Iatu.
Well, sure, whatever. Something that happened.
Anyways.
Something that happened weeks ago that we're now talking about because of time traveling podcasts. Michael Giacchino is doing the score for Star Wars Rogue One now, which
yes.
is amazing.
Yeah. Do you remember the preview that we heard
What?
by now?
You're just assuming
You know
some...
that preview?
Oh yeah, it was amazing. My eyes, they're burning.
Remember that trailer that has been... Oh, God, what if a trailer comes out?
While I'm out of the country,
Yeah. I'm going to have to release a mini episode.
just of you going.
Yeah.
Like,
That's been Hokey Religion.
Yeah, that's it. So yeah, Michael Giacchino is doing the score for Rogue One, which is freaking awesome.
Yes.
I feel really bad for Desplat because obviously
pronounce
that's
his name?
Alexander Desplat.
Is it Desplat? Or
Desplat.
Or is it some kind of...
Alexander Desplat. I
Or
don't
some kind of French
Despot.
deal.
I don't. I don't know.
Despoir.
There's not various vowels and T's and
There is a
X's.
T.
I don't know.
There's exactly
There's-
one T
there's
at
a
the
T.
end.
There's not various vowels. There's a vowel. Literally the vowel.
It's not a despoir.
Sure.
No.
I mean, it sucks for him. So the story supposedly goes that due to the reshoots that happened, the scoring sessions got pushed back, and the splat was no longer available due to schedule conflicts. Could no longer do Star Wars, which really sucks for him. But at the same time, I am freaking excited that Michael Giacchino gets to do Star Wars.
Explain why you're excited.
Michael Giacchino. Michael Giacchino is my favorite page for the Star Wars. Michael Giacchino is my number one pick to take place for John Williams after he passes or quits.
Take place for John Williams?
Yes.
What are you saying right now?
My words, they hurt. Michael Giacchino is my top pick to take over for Michael. Wow, jeez.
Oh
for
my
John
God,
Williams.
get it out.
Michael Giacchino, top pick. John Williams when he's done.
Oh,
There you
I
go.
get it now.
I love Michael Giacchino. He's done amazing stuff. I mean, he's worked for, after doing Rogue One, he will have technically worked for every studio branch of Disney.
Really?
He has done, for Pixar, he's done Incredibles, Ratatouille, and Up, and he won an Oscar for Up. Cars 2, and Inside Out. Inside Out was great.
Mm-hmm.
For live action film division, he worked on Sky High, John Carter, and Tomorrowland. And for Disney Animation, he did Zootopia. And now he's actually going to be debuting November 4th, Marvel's Doctor Strange. He's doing the score for Doctor Strange.
Did he do Star Trek? too?
I'm not sure. I don't have that in my notes because it's not Star Wars related.
Well, didn't
yeah, so coming
as
up
we all
he's
know,
doing-
it's time to talk about Star Trek now.
So yeah, coming up he's doing Doctor
Isn't-
Strange for Marvel, and then he'll be doing Rogue One for Star Wars, which will literally be every film branch for Disney. Of course, he's worked with J.J. Abrams in the past. He did the score for all of
Yeah,
Lost.
that's what I was about to say.
Yeah, he did all of the score for Lost.
He's usually J.J. Abrams' guy, right?
He's like J.J. Abrams' go-to scoring dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was actually a stormtrooper in The Force Awakens. So technically, he would have scored Star Wars and been in Star Wars, which is kind of awesome. I think his music, there's mixed feelings about the show Lost. I love the show Lost, and I think the music was amazing. I actually have some of the soundtracks from Lost because the music was so good. Like he's up there with John Williams and even Howard Shore from Lord of the Rings.
He is very good, yes.
I don't know. I mean, obviously Alexander Desplat did what was the hotel movie that came out? Exotic Marigold Hotel or whatever.
Oh,
He did the soundtrack for. He did the
that's not the
score
one
for
I was
that.
going to guess.
And I mean,
Hotel Rwanda.
sure he did Hotel Rwanda, which is the exact same thing as the Marigold one. I mean, I don't know him as well because obviously I've followed Michael Giacchino being a fan of Lost and being a fan of Disney movies and him doing all of those. But he's
The
always
Grand
been
Budapest Hotel.
that. Sure, whatever. Marigold Hotel
Is that what you were thinking
room
of?
service.
Marigold? You were thinking of Grand Budapest Hotel.
Is that it? I have no idea. No, it's the exotic. It's the exotic one. The exotic.
What are you talking about?
The
Hotel
movie.
Transylvania.
Yes, sure. Why not?
What are you talking about? I don't know what
You've never heard of
this
this movie?
is. The Marigold Hotel. Is that what you're trying
The
to say?
Best Exotic Marigold Hotel. It was a movie that came out in 2011.
What?
No one cares. Anyways, he did the score for that. But Michael Giacchino has always been my favorite pick to take over for John Williams. So the fact that he is getting his opportunity and we're getting our opportunity as fans to get a Michael Giacchino scored Star Wars film, to me as a fan is like his interview for taking over for John Williams.
Okay.
I never felt that way about Desplat. It was just like, oh, they found another dude to do the Star Wars movie because
But he's done some really great soundtracks.
he has, but he was never my he was never my replacement for John Williams
Especially for this kind of movie. I feel like he would have been...
for the war film.
Yeah, and obviously he was their first choice, but the only reason he's not doing it is because
Schedule conflicts.
Yeah, because of the reshoots. Like,
And yeah,
Did
that,
you
I mean, like I
mention that
said,
already?
that super sucks. But for him,
did you mention that already? Why
he-
he's not doing
yeah,
it?
the scheduling conflicts. But I mean, that super sucks for him. But
But it's
for,
because of the reshoots. Like
yes,
the reshoots.
schedule pushed everything back from the reshoots
Exactly,
and
yeah.
and all of that.
Right.
But for me, personally, as a fan, always wanting Michael Giacchino to be the one to take over for John Williams, God forbid the day he dies or decides to stop doing Star Wars music, he was always my favorite person to take over. And the fact that I'm now going to get a Michael Giacchino scored Star Wars film, hopefully that will be the proof that he is the person to do it.
Right.
And the fact that he's had such a long running relationship with not only JJ but Disney in general, that it will be kind of like the proof of, okay, this is the Star Wars guy. Because John Williams is super old and he almost said he wasn't going to do 8, but we know he was. As long as he's alive, I don't think he'll ever be able to say no to Star Wars unless he physically cannot get
don't
up
know.
to do it.
I mean, think about probably 3 years from now
For 9,
for 9.
he'll be crazy old.
I know. It'll be
Like I said
he'll be
before,
exactly 3 years older.
yes, that's crazy. Like I said before, I hope that he makes it through 9 and finishes out at least this trilogy. But I so want Michael Giacchino, and I'm so glad that he will get his chance to have a Star Wars film. And for me personally, as a Tyler, to have and be able to buy a Michael Giacchino scored Star Wars original soundtrack.
Yeah, that will be pretty sweet.
I will buy that on digital and vinyl and everything that comes out on because I love Michael Giacchino. And I'm super excited.
It is really exciting to hear that he's doing that.
I mean, again,
I think it'll be a very different soundtrack than what Desplat
yes,
had.
it will be. But it's the
Desplat.
soundtrack. It's the Star Wars soundtrack
Desplat.
that I personally want from a Star Wars film,
Sure.
from someone who I know can do that music.
Yeah.
Because and we had discussed this on a previous episode with the music for Rogue One. Is I was concerned about someone else doing Star Wars music that wasn't John Williams.
Yeah.
I in no way, shape, and form have that concern with Giacchino at all. Like Desplat, I was always like, well, it might be close. It might be Star Warsy, Stars Warsy,
Star Spursy?
Stars Warsy. It
It'll
might be
be Star
Star
Warsy.
Warsy, but it'll be like his Star Wars. But I feel like Giacchino will be Star Wars music.
You think so?
I don't know. That's just because I'm a fan of Giacchino.
Does that fit with the theme of this movie though?
It still needs to have the Star Wars
Sure, it
sound.
needs still right. It still needs to feel like Star Wars. I'm just saying, does it fit with the theme of this being kind of a breakaway from the more traditional Star Wars format? Because it is, right?
I mean, they keep saying it's grittier. It's more of a war movie, but
Yeah.
wasn't. I mean,
which is something Star Wars doesn't have.
I
up
guess
to
there's
this
nothing
point, right?
super gritty. I mean, the grittiest Star Wars film is probably Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
And John Williams did that. I don't know. Obviously none of Giacchino's Disney scores, Up, Ratatouille, John Carter, or Zootopia are necessarily war films.
Yeah,
But I feel
that's
like
what I'm saying.
I feel like the
Desplat soundtrack would have been that more.
a lot of people don't like the show
Unconventional.
Lost, but there was a lot of intense or thriller-esque or just like
Sure.
more intense scenes, and I've always felt Giacchino's score was very on point with the emotions that were happening through the show.
I'm sure either guy would have done a good job.
Yes,
I'm just
definitely. But
I'm
me
ju-
personally, I am way beyond excited that Giacchino is now the person scoring it because Desplat never. I mean, he does good stuff, but
Yeah.
I was never a super fan of him like I am Giacchino. So personally, I'm super excited now and have no worries that this soundtrack will not sound exactly like Star Wars and be perfect.
all right.
If it's not, I don't know.
You don't know?
I
You don't
just-
know about what?
I don't think there's any way it won't be Star
That's
Wars.
concerning. You don't know about your life?
Yeah, just everything.
No, that's not good. You can't.
I'm just gonna end it all.
No.
Podcast, the
Podcast,
the
the
snack breaks,
the podcast.
just the podcast. Just if Giacchino doesn't pull it out, we're ending the show.
Doesn't pull it out, huh?
Yep.
Anyway,
Could talk.
I don't know. I'm excited for it, but I think Desplat would have been better, honestly.
Really? Better?
Yeah, I really think so. I think he would have been a better match for this type
For
of
the
movie.
type of film?
Yeah. Not to say that doesn't mean that this is going to be bad in any way, or that this is a bad thing. But
But we also
like
know,
I said, obviously Desplat was their first choice.
yes, but I think both of them have such a track record that there's no reason to be worried either way.
That's what I'm saying. Neither one would have been
But
bad.
me as a fan of Giacchino, like his sound is Star Wars to
Personally,
me.
you prefer that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
And I mean, this is going to be the first composer. I mean, Desplat was going to be the first composer that wasn't John Williams to do a Star Wars film.
Right.
And to me, I was like, I mean, he does good scores, but none of them feel like Star Wars to me.
Right.
Whereas Giacchino's, all of his scores like feel in that same vein of John Williams.
Yeah.
Orchestrally, which just makes me super excited.
Right.
So there, I said it. It's done.
Wonderful.
I'm excited.
We had-
Excite with me.
We had. So I was reading Pablo tweets, as one does.
So we just have to start a segment called Pablo Tweets.
I guess. It does seem like every time I go and just read some of his replies to people and read the threads, it's like, oh, wow, this is really interesting.
Because to me, Pablo is the only other person on the entirety of the internet that cares as much as I do. Like when you're on Twitter or like on Facebook or like on Reddit, like Pablo cares.
But there's a qualifier to that. Pablo cares as much as we do, and he
He's
has
in
the
charge.
right answers. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. He's in charge.
Like he can decide that the stuff he says is true.
Yes.
Obviously, there's a whole story group, and he's working with them. But like when Pablo says something and actually puts it out on the internet, like he doesn't do that lightly.
Yeah.
Like that's a
Right.
big decision to like
And, I mean,
definitively say something.
And a lot of the stuff that he does put out there, it seems like has been talked about already and decided. Probably by him.
Probably.
But anyway, I'm out on the internet, out on Twitter. reading-
I'm walking down the inner tubes, and I see a Pablo.
I see a Pablo tweet.
I'm like, hey Pablo, what you got?
What that tweet?
What that tweet?
It's a new segment called What That Tweet?
What that tweet, what did I tweet, what that tweet, what did I tweet, and what is that tweet?
So what that tweet? That tweet was somebody was asking about Death Star.
You couldn't keep it. You couldn't keep up the racist accent. Continue.
Well, I can't do Tyler. I can't do that.
Okay.
I can't. It's not good.
Oh, really?
I could get in trouble for that.
From who?
The people who cause trouble.
Oh, those people. I
That
get
get
it.
you in trouble.
I get it.
Anyway, tweets. There's a
What a
tweet.
tweet?
There was a tweet about Death Star. It talk about
Don't
Death Star.
Just speak human words.
Okay. It talked about this is the person was talking about. Excuse me, falling apart. This is like hour 3 for us. It's in one night.
Do it. Go.
I
What's that tweet?
lost my train of thought. What that tweet? So, this person was asking about the timeline for the construction of the Death Star, tweeting to Pablo, and was talking about basically how was the second Death Star completed so quickly when it seemed like the first Death Star construction took 20 years, because they were basing it off of, we saw the plans in Revenge of the Sith. And then the completed Death Star in the New Hope. That's about 20 years of time, right?
Yeah.
So, and that was the first, actual test of the Death Star, right? So then Pablo responded, it's not necessarily that the construction took 20 years. It's that a certain part of the Death Star took 20 years to complete.
Mm-hmm.
So that got me thinking, obviously he's got to be talking about Rogue One.
Right.
or referring to what is going to happen, what we're going to
It's got to be Galen's super weapon that he's been forced into slavery basically to work on.
exactly.
right?
So something kyber crystal related, I assume, right? Like maybe
Maybe they don't have enough kyber
yeah, maybe
crystals,
refining
or,
them, maybe mining them.
or Galen can't get it right, can't get it working.
I mean, think
properly.
about that occupation on what's whatever the desert planet was that Chirrut and Baze are on. I can't freaking remember the name.
This is Hokey
Of course, I
Rosen.
would have
We
put.
don't remember the names.
No, I could have put that in here, but
People are used to it.
anyway, we talked before about how that planet probably has some kind of kyber crystal mine or is related to
Something.
kyber crystals somehow, right? So yeah, maybe there's production problems. Who knows? But I assume that that's what he's referring to,
Well, if
right?
you think about the 20 years and you think about Jin's age, and you think about the fact that Rogue One Catalyst novel's coming out where Krennic saves the Erso family,
Yeah, the whole
and
backstory.
Galen's
Right.
and basically indebted to him.
Yeah.
And if Jin's a child, he could have been in slavery, quote, slavery, or forced into helping the Empire for about 20 years.
Who are you talking about?
Galen.
Okay, yeah.
He could have been forced into working on this super weapon for 20
Well,
years.
yeah, we talked about this. It was this kind of like a bittersweet relationship where Krennic saved them, so they're indebted to Krennic, but at the same time, he's kind of taking advantage of that and forcing
So,
Galen
yeah,
to
they were
work
friends
on this.
before, but then they were saved, and then he feels indebted to them probably, and
Yeah.
then he is probably forced to work on the super weapon.
Right, taking advantage of that and forcing him, and I'm sure at some point it gets to where
Yeah.
Galen is literally a slave, and he knows it, and everybody knows it.
Yeah. So,
Jin
and
knows
based
it,
off of
you know.
Jin's age and him warning them that a weapons test is imminent,
Right.
it's about 20 years if
Yeah.
we think about where that's been. So I would assume it would be the super weapon and Galen's research and whatever.
Right. It has to be, right?
I would assume.
So anyway, it was just interesting to think about the
What if the Death Star had not taken that long?
well, yeah, I guess that was part of it, but so how that is going to connect, what all we're going to find out in Rogue One about
Yeah.
what happened in the construction of the Death Star, right? So like what we know so far about that, like I said, we saw the plans in Revenge of the Sith
With Poggle.
with Poggle, yeah.
Lucas naming characters.
Which before it was, I was looking this up on the Star Wars Wikipedia. It was Bevel was his name, I think.
Bevel.
It was Bevel, right?
I think so.
Bevel Lemisk or
Something like that, yeah.
something like that. I can't remember how it was pronounced, but
Bevel and Poggle.
well, yeah. So before, I mean, the canon before now was that Tarkin and this guy Bevel were the ones who designed the Death Star and oversaw
Yeah.
everything to do with it, right? And then the new canon is Tarkin didn't necessarily design it, but he still oversaw the construction of it.
Mhm. Yeah,
Um,
and in the Tarkin book, he was basically put on this planet in the middle of nowhere
Yeah,
to help to oversee the construction of the Death Star.
right. So yeah. Now the new canon is it was Poggle. Well, yeah, it was Poggle. It started with Poggle and the Geonosians. They actually designed it, and then Tarkin oversaw most of the construction, and then Krennic oversaw, I guess, what I'm assuming is this certain part that Pablo's talking
Overseeing
about,
like the weapons.
the actual super weapon construction. I assume is
Yeah.
what Krennic is overseeing now. If because I mean, we saw in the trailer the entire station is complete, right?
Yeah,
And they were lowering the
they were putting in
the
like
focusing dish in
yeah.
there. So
So when we see the plans with Poggle, I mean, it shows obviously that dish on it that
Yeah.
it has the weapon.
yeah,
But at that point in time, would Galen have been working on that? Or would they have even known what kind of weapon would be feasible to use?
no. So, well, yeah. So yeah, let me go into the background a little bit more. So yeah, started with the Geonosians. It started with Poggle. They were the designers of that, and I want to come back to that in a second because there's a connection with Palpatine there that I want to talk about.
Okay.
So anyway, it started with them. The designs were created long before the Clone Wars by the Geonosians, like I was saying, and then given to Dooku and Sidious
Okay.
during the Attack of the Clones time. So remember how Attack of the Clones ends with Dooku flying to Coruscant to see Sidious?
Yeah.
He escapes, basically. There's that
Yeah.
awful lightsaber battle.
Yeah.
With Yoda flipping around. And
Yeah. It's
Jeez.
bad. It's all bad.
do you remember? You saw that in theaters, right? Attack of the Clones.
Oh yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
Do you
I
remember
was-
people laughing out loud when Yoda started fighting?
I remember people
Because I
groaning.
remember that.
I remember people groaning out loud, like, what? I remember there being laughter, but also just like a general disgust at why is this happening?
Exactly. People, when I saw it out in the theaters, people were completely just laughing out loud, like it was a joke.
It was. It still is. I watched it
It
with
wasn't
my son.
it wasn't
It's-
a purposeful joke, was it? Was it? It wasn't.
It wasn't purposeful.
I don't
It
think
was
so.
just bad ideas.
It was terrible. Anyway, that's a whole other.
That's yeah.
we kind of talked about that
Mm-hmm.
a couple weeks ago. Anyway.
CG clone troopers.
So the plans were given to Dooku then, and then Dooku dropped him off with Sidious right at the end
Yep.
of Attack of the Clones. And then construction began apparently 3 years after that. So around that would put us around the end of Revenge of the Sith when we actually saw the plans for the first time
Yeah.
in the movies, at least in that timeline. So around that time, that's when construction had already started, and I assume from that point on is when Tarkin kind of got involved with it.
Probably. Yeah.
Maybe more towards the middle of the construction, something like that. I'm not sure exactly where that
Mm-hmm.
falls in the timeline, but anyway, there were two things I wanted to mention here. So the construction being right around the end of Revenge of the Sith, I thought was really convenient because that's
Wow.
exactly when the fall of the Jedi happened,
Yeah.
right? Order 66 was triggered, and Palpatine had just become
Emperor.
emperor
Yeah.
basically, and the Republic had died. I just thought that was really convenient, and it
Well-
got me thinking about how much of this did Palpatine know beforehand? Like,
What do you mean?
so the Geonosians designed the Death Star, sure, but did Palpatine order those designs?
Huh.
Because that would have been, let's see, I put down here, that would have been around his time, like right when he was becoming Supreme Chancellor, or even during his time as a senator,
Yeah. I mean, well,
when the designs were in progress.
obviously he's been planning. He had been planning a lot of this for so long. I mean, the clones with Order
Yes.
66 and all of that was in plans, in
Right.
process for so long. With even that other, the Jedi.
But what's
who
interesting
had
about the
ordered that to
clones?
happen.
So yeah, you mentioned the clones and then the Death Star too. He can't be directly tied to any of that
Well, I mean, the clones
because
were the
Sifo Dyas was the one who ordered the
Dyas
clones
was technically the one who gave the order to
because of his
create the clone
concerns about, I guess it was separatists or upset planets in the Republic or something like that, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. There was some I can't remember exactly what his concerns were, but anyway, he was concerned and he decided to go off and do this, probably because Palpatine got in his ear.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, there's no doubt.
But he still can't be directly tied to this.
No, not at all, because he's
So
brilliant.
is it the same deal with the Death Star where the Geonosians go and decide to design this super weapon for
but not tied to Palpatine in any
before
way.
the Clone Wars?
Well, I mean, obviously the Jedi don't even know that Dooku is tied to Palpatine.
Yeah.
Did he just have Dooku put in the order for that?
Well, I'm sure Dooku was involved in that, but my question was more, well, yeah, I mean, if Dooku was the one who ordered up one Death Star, please, from the
One Death Star,
Geonosians,
please.
yeah, I'm sure Sidious was behind it, or Palpatine.
Oh, I'm
was
sure.
behind
Yeah,
it.
all of this was planned for so long, and I mean, I don't know how much of it was. I assume most of it was his plan and not Plagueis's plan or anything. Maybe.
Well, this whole thing started with Palpatine wanting to succeed Plagueis,
Yes, I mean he
right?
provided that's still canon that he struck down Plagueis and rose on his
Pretty
own.
sure that is.
I would
We've
assume.
talked about this before, right?
Yeah, I mean there's nothing refuting that happening, so I would assume that's still canon.
Yeah.
And Palpatine is like with the clone army and all of putting the chips in the heads and having all of that Order 66 stuff in place. I'm
Yeah.
sure the Death Star and even all of that was in place. But my question is more so the weapon. If they had to have, did they just have the idea of like maybe we can do this weapon, so just design it with this array
I
in
see what you
place
mean,
and
yeah.
hope that we can figure it out?
Yeah, because if we're assuming that Galen figured this out,
I think Galen has an idea, like, hey, maybe this can be done as a power source or whatever,
yeah,
but doesn't have. I don't think he ever has a weapon in mind. But obviously, it's bent to do that.
but
I think he has more of a power source of, hey, we can like power an entire planet with these crystals,
sure,
and maybe they're from a poor planet or whatever, and they could like maybe we could power whatever a whole planet
Right.
with just this pile of crystals or whatever.
yeah,
But then it's bent to do something that he never wanted it to be put toward. But if that was his idea and they designed this whole Death Star with a dish with a focusing array and all of that,
yeah.
what was the plan? What was the weapons plan for that?
Well-
if designing it with that before having the weapon itself designed.
So, do you think Galen would have? Because this was his work, right? This was his main deal.
He's like doing like research. Like
Do you think he would have started that during the Clone Wars? Before the Clone Wars, maybe even?
maybe it was an idea or something he had just started toying around with.
Because Dooku has the completed plans at the end of Attack of the Clones, which is the beginning of the Clone Wars,
Yeah.
right? So this weapon had to have been somewhat designed. I mean,
But that seems way
this
too
mobile battle station, at least.
based off of just thinking about the novel for Catalyst and the fact that Jyn exists as a child.
Yeah.
She does not seem old enough in Rogue One for him to have been working on the weapon in slavery or wherever for
While
that
she's
long.
a child,
Yeah.
you're saying. Yeah. So let's say she was, what, maybe 10 in Catalyst?
I could even say like 6. I mean, but even then,
So then
that
Catalyst
doesn't
would have
seem
had
like
to...
long enough for him to figure it out enough for a design to be put in place for his weapon to then
and then built.
start working on.
Yeah. Yeah, I see what you mean. Yes,
That's what I don't
so
get.
it's a good point. I don't know what was the super weapon back then.
Before Galen.
Yeah.
Like, what was the plan before Galen? I mean, maybe it was like
Was it just a mobile...
maybe it was like an okay weapon, but it wasn't like a super. Like it was just like it was a good weapon. We got a good weapon. Oh no, wait, we
Now
we
it's a
upgraded it.
super weapon.
It's a super weapon. This is it's a pretty good weapon.
Yeah, because those plans that Dooku actually shows in Revenge of the Sith, you could see the focusing dish.
I mean,
you
it
can
has to
see
look
all
like
of
the
it.
Death Star for you
Right,
to, yeah.
sure, for you to know what
I
it
think
is.
there's probably some retconning definitely in place to get this to all fit in, but it also needs to fit in the timeline to keep everything within
Yeah.
the canon timeline correct.
So the only...
Unless Jyn is way older than I think she is.
Right. I was going to say the only unknown piece in all this is what was Galen working on? When did he start working on it?
Yeah.
All of that stuff, right? And how does that tie into Poggle's
Like maybe he already
design?
had the power source piece figured out, but not how to weaponize it.
Or the other way around. Maybe they had the weapon figured out, but didn't know how to power it, or didn't know how to focus it, or something other
Maybe.
weird thing like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Or
I don't-
maybe-
my personal thought is I don't think Galen was ever trying to design a weapon or figure out a weapon.
Right. From
I
everything
think
we
he was
know,
just like
Yes.
what was it? Not was it Mads? Is that who's playing Galen?
yeah,
He mentioned that he like created something beautiful. Quote.
sure.
I think he was maybe just trying to create some kind of better power source than what they currently have.
Well, I don't think the Kyber crystal.
I guess they're not really powered on their own, but they focus
I think it
power.
focuses incredible amounts of power. I think it can.
So even a
'Cause
lightsaber
that's what it does in a
has a
lightsaber.
power, has a power module, whatever it's called, a
Yeah.
battery pack. It has some
Power
doubles in there.
cells or something. Yeah.
It has a power cell that then focuses through the kyber crystal to it almost like amplifies it. So maybe he was trying to create something to amplify like a little bit of power to do much more than it was supposed to be able to do to create something like that would
Possibly.
better the world or better the universe.
Right.
Obviously, you can't, not better the world, better the universe. Like trying to create something to like help everyone and not
Yeah.
necessarily try to destroy planets with a super weapon.
Sure. Right.
That's my assumption. I mean, maybe he's just like some twisted, sick dude that's like, oh,
It's beautiful. So many people will die.
yeah, maybe that's his thing. You know, I don't know. That's not my assumption, but so I mean, maybe he had already figured out the whole power thing and how to focus it, but then they forced him to weaponize it.
Maybe. Yeah.
So maybe they knew like, hey, this will work, but we need him to figure out the logistics of getting it to work.
That seems like something the Empire would do. That Palpatine
Like, oh, hey,
would do.
you created this great power source. Guess what? We're going to use it to destroy
Right.
everything.
Sure.
We're gonna destroy stars. It can destroy stars, right? Yeah? Okay, good.
See, going back to Palpatine's plan back when he was still a senator. So yeah, he had this idea for, dominating the galaxy,
Yeah.
for using Sith doctrine, I guess, to rule the galaxy. He couldn't. I don't know. I find it hard to believe that he could have imagined a weapon like this.
Before it was realized.
Yeah. I mean, maybe. I think Tarkin had a lot to do with that
Maybe.
because it's his philosophy, basically. This station, ruling through fear and everything we learned about him in the book.
Yeah.
And this was his baby.
Yeah.
Up until he had to let it go for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
I really hope they explain that too in Rogue One. Like why
Tarkin's not.
why
Krennic?
is Tarkin suddenly not involved and then he's suddenly on the station and super involved in A New Hope? Like what happens in that
I feel
meantime?
like Krennic is more. I mean, he's called Director Krennic.
Is he more
which
of a
is odd.
security director?
Maybe he's like this, like the.
Maybe Tarkin is still an overseer.
Maybe he's
and-
like the Navy, like the director of the Navy, or just like the Army in general,
maybe.
in charge of weapons and, I don't know.
I think we talked about where Krennic kind of fits in all of
It
this.
is. I mean, it does. Obviously, they're having to shoehorn all of this Rogue One stuff in.
I mean, how does Tarkin, Krennic, and now Thrawn all fit into the same
Yeah, I mean,
military organization?
We don't know how long Thrawn lasts or what his purpose is and how long it goes.
Right.
Obviously, I'm super interested in that. I would have rathered him be Krennic than Krennic be Krennic. If they could have just put Thrawn
Almost,
in Rogue
yeah.
One, that would have been amazing.
Friggin' sweet.
I'm sure Krennic's going to be cool, but the fact that they're having to shoehorn in Krennic and then I guess hopefully there's I mean, I think we all feel that there needs to be an explanation of what Tarkin, like what happened with Tarkin.
At
and
least
where is he.
mentioning it or something, right?
I mean,
you would
again,
think.
Obviously Tarkin's a Grand Moff. That's higher than a director.
You would think so, yeah.
And obviously, I think the Director Krennic is maybe just in charge of the army, or he's just in charge of the navy, or something, something smaller like that. Whereas Tarkin's in charge of all of it.
I think Krennic is more. I think he might be more in a security role,
Yeah.
like maybe specifically around the super weapon part of the Death Star, like overseeing the construction of just that part or something. Maybe because of his relationship with Galen.
Possibly.
I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, it's hard to tell.
I don't know. Rebel Season 3 premieres in... It has already premiered
Yes, by the time this episode
should
comes
say.
out, it has already premiered. It will premiere
on the 24th.
on the 24th.
It's the 24th of September, which
So as we're recording it, it's the weekend after we record this.
was like a week and a half ago.
Yep. Hopefully it was.
So we've already
awesome.
seen the first two episodes and a third episode.
I will
this
have been
point.
in another country where I probably would not have been able to watch it yet. So I will catch up post haste.
Yeah, the premieres with the Bendu creature.
Oh,
The
yeah.
that force-sensitive, giant force-sensitive creature. I think
Yeah.
this season might be the... Remember that point in Clone Wars
Season
where...
3?
Was it season 3?
It was season 3.
Okay. Well, then maybe
That point where Clone Wars got really good.
Yeah, where it
It was
kind of
season 3.
flipped
Yeah.
a little, and it became...
It was no longer a kids show. It was a little darker and a
Yeah,
little
they
more
were
serious.
they were diving into real issues in Star Wars
Yeah,
and,
it was
and
season
real
3.
characters that you cared about.
Yeah.
So maybe that'll be...
I hope so. I
this
mean,
season.
Rebels has been good, but there's a lot of fluff with very few
Yeah.
like episodes that really matter
Right.
with information. But Clone Wars, I felt the same way. It was just like, oh, it's just Obi-Wan and Anakin doing whatever, and this
Right.
is kind of a kid's show. And then season 3 was like, oh, it's darker. Oh, it's more serious. Oh,
Right.
this is like adding to the story of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's like they have all the building blocks for a
it's
good
almost like
show.
it's almost like Filoni knows what he's doing. It's like, oh, let's get them in. Let's get in the people who don't know what's going on just yet, and then, oh wait, guess what? You know way more about Star Wars than you ever wanted to.
Do you really think that's what is happening?
I mean, I think it's purposeful. Obviously, he needs to draw in the non-heavy Star Wars fans. Obviously, all these adults are watching this show on Disney XD.
All the noobs.
Yeah, but you still got the kids because it's on Disney XD who you need to draw in. But then, kids who started watching it when they're 6, now they're 8, and it's like, oh, let's get into, killing people. That's what happens when you're 8, right? Your dad takes you out into the woods and you kill somebody.
Yeah.
All right.
That's what happened with
That was,
me.
that was my story.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, it's the
That's
same.
it's just Florida. I don't
I think
know.
we killed each other's dads. I think that's what-
Oh, that's where he went. Good to know. Thank you.
yeah, I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I
premiere.
mean, I hope this is that turning point from what, like you said, like Clone Wars, where it was like kids show and then way more serious, more story. And the fact that they're bringing in Thrawn, I hope that's what.
It seems
That's
like
what it is.
which I guess is the case for any show as it progresses, but it seems like the stakes are higher. It seems like there's things actually on the line now.
Well, you have
that
to-
it's not
you have to
just some
spend so much
throwaway-
time introducing the characters and so much time.
But didn't it feel just like a throwaway show up until
Season
now?
1?
And season 2.
Some of season 2, yeah.
I mean, maybe a little less because of Ahsoka.
I
but-
felt that way with Clone Wars
And
too.
Maul.
Other than building relationships amongst characters, the stuff that actually happened in the episodes was just like it doesn't really
characters.
affect.
Did you say characters?
Sure, it's characters.
That's what you said.
No, the characters.
Rewind the tape.
Characters.
See,
No, I said it.
See, you did say it. I don't know what you're talking about.
The characters. I mean, obviously the relationships existed, and it was like building on the relationships. But the stuff that happened per episode didn't feel like the stuff and the arcs mattered all that much.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was just like a
But-
throwaway
but, like,
deal.
Season 2 of
Like, who
Rebels, they
cares
brought
about it?
they brought in Maul more, they brought in Ahsoka more, and they brought in Darth Vader, and now they're bringing in Thrawn. I think they're getting to that point too, where it's just like the tipping point of
Oh, now it matters.
kids show to, okay, now that you're in, we're going to teach you what you need to know.
Here's how it ties into the rest of the universe.
I really
Yeah.
hope so, especially with Thrawn. I don't want anything fluff related that has Thrawn involved. If Thrawn's involved, it should not be fluff.
Sure.
Because he's very important to me. he's very important.
Well, he is. I mean, and actually,
At least I want him to be important. Maybe he's just like the first episode dead. Thrawn, done. All right.
I
good to know.
rewatched the season 3 trailer, the premiere trailer,
Yeah.
and the Thrawn scenes. Like there's a lot of stuff that they pulled from his character, like
Yeah. Definitely.
him, like what he's actually saying in the trailer, talking about needing to know. You can't just know your enemy's battle tactics. You have to know how they think. You have to know
Everything
their
about them.
culture. You have to know.
Well, I mean, that was the whole thing
Like,
in
all
the
of that
novels. Was like Thrawn was like so.
That's what I'm saying.
He was so cultured. He knew like every art form and
yeah.
music, and like he just knew everything about every culture to know the way they think, so that he could use that against them.
Yeah, but exactly. It was specifically his enemy's culture and his enemies.
But he didn't even have to like go research it. Like he just already knew it. He already knew everything.
Well, he
about
went out-
everything.
He went out and looked into it and put some time into learning it.
before, but like in the novels, he already knew everything to be able to handle everything, which I hope
Sure.
that's the Thrawn we want and we need, and
And it sounds like that's the Thrawn we're gonna
I
get.
cannot wait for the book.
Oh yeah,
And next
I wonder
April.
what. I assume that's his backstory, his new backstory now.
His new story. I don't know.
It's so exciting to think that we're gonna have a Thrawn book that has
Written by-
been passed through the
Yeah.
Lucasfilm story group, written by the same guy who created the
And
character.
the people who are now part of the story group like care about what this guy wrote before.
Yeah.
So they're probably gonna let. I mean, obviously the stuff with like Luke and Mara Jade and all of
Yeah,
that's, and obviously the twins and all of that's gonna have to go away. But
Yeah.
I think Thrawn as a character, most of that's probably gonna be kept around.
Yeah.
Which is super exciting because
It is,
I
yeah.
always thought Zahn's writing was amazing. Like those are my favorite books
Right.
from the EU, and I cannot wait for that. As of this episode coming out, the Ahsoka novel is not long from now. It's coming out in October. I'm trying to pull up the date. I want to say the 14th.
Okay.
October. Beep, beep, bop, bop, boop, beep, boop, beep, boop, 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 boop. This is the song I sing when I find the dates. October 11th. I was close. This episode is going to be coming out on October 10th. So Ahsoka, the novel, comes out tomorrow as of this episode releasing. So go buy that and enjoy it. Michael may read that one, but never Life Debt. I assume.
No, I'm probably not gonna read Ahsoka either.
Oh, really? Ahsoka's great.
I don't know.
I want to know her story. I want to know what I'm.
Is this after or?
It depends on when it takes place.
Yeah.
But I want to
I don't
know,
know
like,
anything about
from
it.
the moment she walked away at the end of Clone Wars, what happened? Like,
Well, it's probably
how
what
did
this
she
is
end
then.
up to where she ended up in Rebels? Like, that's
has
just
to
the
be what
story
this
I
is,
want.
right?
I would assume
It has to be.
it just like randomly picks up after she supposedly died in Clone Wars but didn't die. Just like wait, what? Or she's like pre-Clone Wars and she's like 2 the whole book.
Great. This is not the Ahsoka I wanted. Who found her? Obi-Wan?
Plo Koon.
Oh, Plo Koon. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
He saved her.
Yeah, maybe
on
we'll get some of
something.
that.
Plo
Plo Koon's one of my favorite
I love
Jedi.
Ahsoka as a character, and I want to know what went through her mind and what happened with all that training she went through and all the stuff she learned. Like after she was basically pushed out of the Jedi,
Yeah.
like how does that affect you and dealing with the rest of the world and not like using that?
Not turning that into anger you're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, either not turning that into like using your power for bad, but also maybe
Yeah.
not even using it for good. Like how do you
Yeah.
reconcile not being a part of anything but having this thing that was such a big piece of your life since she was like what 2 or 4 or something like that when
Yeah,
Plo
it's
Koon
really
saved her.
young.
It was her entire life she was involved with the Jedi
Right.
to not being involved at all. I mean that's what I want to know about. So hopefully that was what happens in the book.
You know, that kind of seems like a theme of this new Star Wars is the Force outside of the Jedi and Sith. You know, it's
The
not
Force,
just...
the Force without having these weird constraints that people put around it as a religion almost.
Which come from the Jedi and Sith. Yeah, exactly. Which basically has been everything we know
Correct.
up until now.
Yeah.
But yeah, that there's so many more dimensions to the Force besides these 2 doctrines, you know? Seems to be a theme.
I mean, like we've said, like Maz or Chirrut, like there's the Force, and the Force exists, and you don't have to be like this super good warrior or the super bad warrior. You could just be someone that
to
just,
feel connected to
like,
it.
knows
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Force and uses it, and
Yeah.
like
And then you've got Ahsoka, who's not really aligned to either.
Yeah.
Either doctrine, and then now you've got Maul.
who's like who
Who's-
knows what.
He's basically
What he
Ahsoka,
cares about.
but starting from the Sith point of view
Yeah,
instead of
exactly.
from the Jedi point of view.
Yeah,
like,
you've got Ahsoka on the light side and Maul on the dark side, and both of them have been like shut out by their various
and
factions.
they're both trying to influence Ezra. Which
They're both trying to
is
figure
kinda
out.
Interesting.
Yeah, they're both trying to figure out like what to do.
Yeah.
From here, which
Right.
is, I mean, it's cool that the Force is being explained in more ways than just like, hey, there's this one and hey, there's this one. That's cut and dry.
You
Yeah,
got
I'm excited
this
for that.
force over here, and then you got this force over here. One of them's white, one of them's red.
The end. Hopefully, by our next episode, since I will have been on vacation, I will have read all of Life Debt. Michael will have not, so we will use an episode for me to describe the important parts to him.
I'm actually going to unread what I've read so far, so I'm just going to read it in reverse and get rid of all of the things that I've memorized. So,
No, as you just read through it.
yes. So I'm going to unread as much of that book as I can.
So after this episode, I hope within the next episode or two, I will be able to tell Michael the important parts canonically, and then we can be done with
the
Life Debt.
important parts that every single person knows by now.
Yes. Alrighty.
So it doesn't
But that doesn't mean
matter.
that we've discussed our theories around it, which is the only reason no one listens.
Yes, I will be coming up with theories on the spot.
Wedge wears heels. I don't know. That's your
Have
theory.
we ever seen Wedge's feet? No. We have not. We haven't. Think about it. Have you ever seen Wedge's feet
This
in
is
anything?
canon breaking news, Michael. What will we do?
Hashtag Wedge's feet.
No.
No?
No one
Oh.
ever hashtag that.
No? All right.
Are we good?
I know. Why do you ask me that? Every episode you
I
ask
know,
me,
that's
are
my-
we good?
That's my thing now. Are
Like-
it's like we had an argument and we sat down and recorded our discussion after the fact. I'm like, all right, are we good now?
Are we good now?
Are we good? Are
Can
we
we
good
finally get past this?
now? All right.
So I need to just say no so we could record another episode, right?
I don't know how
No,
it
we're not
works.
good. This is still going to happen
We have to
every 2 weeks.
I guess so. We're
Every
never
other
good.
week.
It's never good. Follow us online at Hokey_religion on Twitter. We have a Facebook page, so search Hokey Religion. Shoot us any questions, comments, deepest wishes, dreams, hopes at asklobot@hokeyreligion.com. You can watch our episodes on YouTube, and it's still just audio. So do that if you want. And if you
Don't do that. It's not worth it.
don't do that. And if you enjoy the show and want to support us, then go to patreon.com/hokeyreligion and, look at that, because that's a thing.
Yeah, we've got some pretty good rewards on there, I think.
Sure.
Like
Why not?
hugs, and
Love.
you can come on the show and we'll probably talk to you.
Digitally come on the show. You're not coming to my house or anywhere near
We'll
us.
do like a, Patreon chat on Google Hangouts or
Yeah.
something.
So, if you enjoy the show and want to help us make it better, then go there. Check it
What
out.
was that one? Like 10, was it $10 a month?
To have the chat, $5.
But it's even cheaper.
And you can just do it for
That's
1 month if you
factually less than $10.
want. It is technically true.
So give us
Good job.
a few bucks and
As always, tweet the try to follow and tweet the guy that owns Hokey at Hokey Religion on Twitter, because
Yes.
we want that tag, and
yep, just
he
tweet
is
him up.
locked down to only accept.
He
people
will not
following
respond
him,
to my follow requests, and he will
or
not
mine
respond to
either,
yours.
or Hokey Religions, and we really want the one without the underscore. So bombard him.
My goal is to sneakily follow him from my personal account, and then
Interesting.
get in under the rug and
Why are you
Pop out.
under a rug?
pop out and go, ha!
Mine. And you just take his.
Put your pants on.
Is that what happens above rugs?
That's what happens below rugs.
Ooh. All right. This is Tyler.
This is Michael. Bye.
Goodbye.
Hokey religion is an ancient work. Hokey religion is an ancient weapon for no match for a good blaster at your side.
All right. Well, I guess
Think
we
about
should
them beans.
I've been thinking about those beans.